Hello! So, over here at D&D and Dumb, you may or may not be aware of the fact that I like to make builds that are a bit unconventional. Or at least, I've played 5e for long enough where I get sick and tired of the same old types of builds. And so, I like to look for synergies that are sort of underneath the surface of the rules, and a lot of the times this means that I'm using under-optimized multi-class synergies or feats or weapons, etc. But I try to do them in a way where they are viable, if not optimal. And today, we're going to do just that, but sort of in a way that might feel cheap, because I'm going to be multi-classing two classes that do work well together, and there are plenty of builds that use these two classes in ways that might have slightly higher DPR than what I will be presenting today. But with that said, this build is better. So let's just get into wait, first also another disclaimer. This build has been done in a different way, not using these classes and weapons and feats, etc. But if you've played this game for long enough, if you've looked up different builds, if you're on Reddit, Discord, YouTube, etc., you may have come across this build before, or something similar to it. This build might remind you of another build. It's not that build, all right? This is completely original stuff, and it's going to blow your mind. So strap in, get ready. Here we go. Probably level 1. No, actually, here's another thing. So let's talk about D&D, right? I mean, how many times have you seen someone trying to dual wield or two-weapon fight, as it's known in D&D? It's a classic character fantasy, right? I mean, who doesn't want to be Legolas, etc., or whatever? And forget the pop culture references. The most famous character from D&D lore, aside from any creature, like dragons and beholders aside, the most famous character is probably Drist, right? I don't know how it's, I'm going to look him up. Drist, whatever, Dristle Dan or whatever, Dan, whatever the fuck. He's a dual wielder. And if you tried to build Drist, what are you gonna... You're gonna build a shitty character. You're gonna build an under-optimized character that's gonna lag behind in the party. It's probably gonna be... I mean, Drist has a panther, so I guess you're probably playing a ranger, and you're gonna lag behind every marshal in the party and every caster in the party, and you're gonna look like a joke, and you're not gonna have a lot of fun. So, dual wielding in D&D generally doesn't work. It generally is just inferior use of your bonus action and requires a lot of bullshit just to add modifiers and keep up in that way. So today, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do two-weapon fighting. We're gonna do dual wielding, and we're gonna make it work, or at least work better than you might think it can work. All right? So that's the premise we're going with here. In order to do that, we have to use all the shitty feats and weapons and all that and blah, blah, blah. Here we go, level 1. So for your class, you're going custom lineage. You have to go custom lineage. I know it's not what you want to hear. It's not the most attractive class, but you can't deny that feat at level 1. If you want to go fairy and human, do that. But you need the feat. So we're going custom lineage at level 1. And for the feat, we're taking one of the worst feats in the game. We're taking Dual Wielder. Dual Wielder gives you a +1 AC bonus while you're wielding separate melee weapons in each hand. And you can use two-weapon fighting even without light weapons. So this is going to open the door for all the other one-handed weapons in the game that don't have the light properties, such as the rapier, but we're not going to be using a rapier. You can draw and stow two-handed weapons with the same action or whatever. I don't know what that even means or why you need to do that, but it's part of the feat, so we have it. The slight trade-off to taking custom lineage and taking this feat at level 1 is the fact that you don't really need to dual wield through much of the progression of this build. And to speak to the progression of this build, you can take it a few different ways. The way that I'm doing it is going to be straight 5 levels 1 class, because extra attack, just getting extra attack at level 5 is just an undeniable power spike that you want to get as early as possible. So that's the route we're taking. So level 1, custom lineage, dual wielder, and you're going paladin for your class. And paladin is a great class, all right? It's a half caster, a charisma caster, but you only need for the, okay, let's talk about stats really quick. I don't know, you're going 16 strength, 16 con, 13 charisma, dump the rest. That's all you need. But anyway, yeah, you're going paladin. You get lay on hands and divine sense at first level. You don't get any spells at first level, but you get some fighting styles. Unfortunately, we don't get 2-weapon fighting as a choice from paladin fighting styles. We will be getting it later, but for now, I suggest just taking defense. It's probably the best. You could take blind fighting, but I think defense is the best way to go. We have dual wielder feats, so when we're dual wielding, we get +1 AC. Plus defense, we get another +1 AC. So basically, it's like we're holding a shield, but we're not. And I think that's going to be the way to go here. So there we go. 2-weapon fighting. I mean, not 2-weapon fighting. Defense fighting style. Oh, and you don't get your fighting styles until 2nd level. So here we go, level 2. Now we get our fighting style. We take defense, we get some spell casting, we get divine smites. Divine smite is kind of the core use of damage output in this build in terms of scaling. And it's going to take advantage of the fact that we're a 2-weapon fighter, because it gives us more opportunities to land smites and to, you know, ramp up the DPR. So there you go. You get divine sense, lay on hands, fighting style, spell casting, divine smite at level 2. In terms of your approach here, strategy wise, for the first 2 levels of campaign, you don't have many options. I honestly think just take a greatsword and swing it around, because we don't have great decks, and yes, that means we've wasted our feet, but you know what? That's how it goes when you're building builds like this. The first few levels are just not the way, you know what I mean? In terms of spells at level 2, I think you get 2. Take Bless, that's a classic. Don't take any rituals. And maybe take Healing Word. Anything else that you should know? No. So, level 3. Now you get your Sacred Oath, your subclass. For subclass, honestly, you can take whatever you want, but there is a specific subclass that's going to synergize the best, and that's Conquest Paladin. Conquest Paladin, first of all, you get a decent spell list. Now, Spiritual Weapon at level 5, which we will eventually get to in this class, is going to conflict with our bonus action attack with our second weapon, which I haven't even talked about yet, but that means that spell is kind of useless. But Armor of Agathis is a great spell, especially for a 2-weapon fighter, because that means we're going to be in melee combat, although we kind of won't be, but you'll see. Despite that, it's a good, you know, it's free temp HP, it's no concentration, it scales with spell levels, and so it's a good spell to have that you don't have on your regular Paladin spell list. But the reason we're going Oath of Conquest is for the Channel Divinity. As an action, you can force each creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet to make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, a creature becomes frightened of you for 1 minute. The frightened creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns. So basically, you're using an action to make every creature you can see within 30 feet afraid of you, hopefully. This is really good. The frightened condition means that they're going to have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls as long as you're within line of sight. And we should be able to really take advantage of this, as you'll see later. At 7th level, which you may or may not be getting to depending on your route here, but I think you will be and I advise you will be, you will eventually get from your subclass your aura synergizing with your channel divinity to reduce a frightened creature's speed to 0. And reducing speed is great. When you can reduce it to 0, like, that's huge. But anyway, for now we're just 3rd level Paladin, Conquest Paladin, and you're doing Paladin stuff in the party, okay? That's all you can really do here. We're just playing the game as normal. We've wasted a feat. We're custom lineage. We're swinging a greatsword around. We have bad spells, and we have Armor of Agathis, though. And so we're decent in combat, and we have decent AC. You have chainmail on. You probably have a greatsword, +1 AC. You're decent. You're fine. You're keeping up with everyone. We're low level anyway. We have lay on hands when people fall. And we have Divine Sense if you're in like a, what's the one where they Descent into Avernus campaign or something like that. So anyway, moving on. Let's just go, oh no, because we're going to get a ASI at level 4, but you're not taking an ASI, you're taking another feat. And I know that's not what you probably want to hear, but it's what you're going to do. So you're taking a feat. The feat you're taking is Mounted Combatant. Okay? I hope maybe you can see where we're going with this, but if you can't, just stay tuned. Mounted Combatant means that you have advantage on melee attack rolls against any unmounted creature that is smaller than your mount. You can also force an attack. You can force an attack targeted at your mount to target you instead. And if your mount is subject to an effect and it has to make a dexterity check, it only takes half damage or something. I don't know. I can't read. So this is a good feat to have, because let's go to level 5, and at level 5, not only do you get extra attack, but you get more spells, and you get a spell that only is available to paladins, and that spell is Find Steed. Okay? No, it's not. What is the spell called? It's called Find the Steed, isn't it? Summon the Steed, maybe, is what it's called. Why can't I find the fucking spell? It's called... I'm looking at the cleric spell list. That's hilarious. I don't think Healing Word is a paladin spell. I suggested you take Healing Word earlier. I'm 90% sure it's not a paladin spell. So for first level spells, just take like Shield of Faith and Bless, maybe a Wrathful Smite or something. But at second level, you are taking Find Steed. That is a paladin spell. And it's a great spell, and it's going to work so well with this build. And now is when you get to be who you were meant to be, or at least start to be who you were meant to be. Find Steed, you get to summon, I believe it can be a warhorse, right? You summon a spirit that assumes the form of an intelligent, loyal speed, a warhorse, pony, camel, or an elk, or a mastiff. And I believe warhorse is just the statistically best choice here. None of them have great hit points. None of them have great stats. But their large creature, or a warhorse anyway, is a large creature. Stats should be on screen right now, and it has a trampling charge, which you will pretty much never use, but you have it in case you need to. You can also make an attack with its melee weapons, but pretty much, if it's taking an action, it should be like the dodge action or disengage. Every once in a while you can throw out a charge, every once in a while you can throw out an attack, but that's not really the move here. And now that we're at this stage in the build, you should know that, like, if you are in a campaign that has the availability of getting a mount earlier in this game, in your campaign, earlier than level 5, which is decently likely, get a mount as soon as possible. Hop on that mount and start 2-weapon fighting. The 2-weapon fighting that we are going to be engaging in, as you may or may not have guessed, is of course with the lance. Now the lance is a great weapon. The lance is a 1d12 weapon. So it's the same, well, it's not the same. It's not the same as the greatsword damage. It's 1d12 versus 2d6. 2d6 is always better. The more dice you have of the same total is always better in terms of the averages, but 1d12 is great. So you're going to walk your ass into the blacksmith, you're going to buy 2 lances, and you're going to walk out. You're going to cast Find Steed, you're going to hop on your warhorse and take out your 2 lances. That's right, 2 of them. Because if we read the special property of the lance, you have disadvantage when you use a lance to attack a target within 5 feet of you. That's terrible. But we're not going to have to worry about that. You'll see why. Also, a lance requires 2 hands to wield when you aren't mounted. So that means when you are mounted, it only requires 1 hand. Which also means that it works with the dual wielder feat and with 2-weapon fighting. So the dual wielder feat, as you can remember, you can use 2-weapon fighting even when the one-handed melee weapons you aren't wielding aren't light. Now, these aren't one-handed weapons per se, but they also are. Because, Tiny! That's my dog, sorry, he's very small. Hey! Alright, like I was saying, the lance, also, a lance requires 2 hands to wield when you aren't mounted. Meaning, you know, like I was saying, we can use it. Basically, you have a lance in each hand, you're 2-weapon fighting, it works with a dual wielding feat, so boom, attack once with the lance, boom, attack again with the lance, and then bonus action, attack with your other lance. Pretty good, huh? Now, the trade-off here is that we're not adding our strength modifier to the second attack damage yet, but we will be soon, and soon is right now, because at level 6, we're leaving the Paladin class, and we're going into Fighter. Fighter, as you know, is a great class. And at first level, you get second wind and also a fighting style. That fighting style is, of course, 2-weapon fighting. When you engage in a 2-weapon fighting, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of the second attack. So now we can add our strength modifier to both attacks. So that's 1d12 plus 1d12 plus 1d12, all plus 3 each, so plus 9. 3d12 plus 9 in a perfect world. That's pretty damn good. My dog is still barking at nothing. He's old and senile. Anyway, yeah, it's great. So let's get on with it. Let's move over to level 3. At level 2, of course, you get, level 8 total. Level 5 levels in Paladin, 3 levels in Fighter. At 7th level, you got Action Surge, which is huge in terms of being able to either cast a spell and then take your attack actions, or have just more attacks in a given round. You know what Action Surge does, right? Okay. Anyway, at 3rd level, you get your subclass in Martial, or in Fighter. And if you didn't know, now you know, we're going Echo Knight. Echo Knight has got to be the best fighter subclass in the game. Anyone who tells you that Battle Master is out of their fucking mind. This class is ridiculous, okay? It's got utility out the wazoo, it's got Nova round out the wazoo, and when we combine it with a Mounted Paladin with Divine Smites and 2 lances, we are going to be ramping up the damage like you would not believe. I'm going to start flashing damage numbers on the screen, hopefully, because I haven't done the calculations, or at least I don't have them handy, because I forgot about smites. But smiting is how we are surpassing any other type of 2-weapon fighting build, and how we're also surpassing a lot of other stuff, okay? I don't know what that means either. But anyway, here's what you do with Echo Knight. At 3rd level, you get Manifest Echo. This means as a bonus action, you can manifest your Echo. An Echo occupies a space you can see within 15 feet of you. This Echo is magical, translucent, gray image of you that lasts until it is destroyed. You dismiss it as a bonus action, or until you manifest another Echo, or if you're incapacitated. So what this basically means is you're making a copy of yourself, but it's not a creature. I think it counts as a object, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't specify in the rules, so you should talk to your DM about certain properties of the Echo so that you guys really are on the same page. For example, like flanking, you can't technically flank with it, but I've seen it ruled that you can. Certain spells that only affect creatures, do they affect the Echo, that kind of stuff. So anyway, your Echo has an AC of 14 plus your proficiency bonus. So at this level, we're level 8. What's our proficiency? 5? 4? Okay. It's got 1 hit point, so if it gets hit, it's dead, but you can just make another one with a bonus action. If it makes saving throws, it uses your saving throw. And remember, we have Aura from Paladin. I don't think I went over that, but we have our Paladin Aura. Let's quickly go over to Paladin and just reference what the Aura is. The Aura of Protection. When you are friendly... Oh, no, we don't have it. We're not level 6 in Paladin. Anyway, as your Echo, let's talk about what it does. On your turn, you can mentally command the Echo to move up to 30 feet in any direction. If your Echo is ever more than 30 feet from you at the end of your turn, it is destroyed. As a bonus action, you can teleport, magically swapping places with your Echo at a cost of 15 feet of your movement, regardless of the distance between you. Now, whenever we're talking about bonus actions, we have to remember that we're 2-weapon fighting and using our bonus action constantly. So any round in which we're using our bonus action to do something else is taking away potential damage. That's okay, but it is something to consider, especially when picking spells, etc. When you take the attack action on your turn, any attack you make with that action can originate from your space or the Echo's space. You make this choice for each attack. This is huge, and this is how things are going to synergize with the other choices we made so far. When a creature that you can see within 5 feet of your Echo moves at least 5 feet away from it, you can use your reaction to make an opportunity attack against that creature as if you were in the Echo's space. So that's basically just repeating what the last thing said, except it also works with your opportunity attack, even when things leave the reach of your Echo. Now, it states explicitly 5 feet, so it doesn't mean that your reach transfers to the Echo's reach, but it does mean what it means. Now, you also get at 3rd level Unleash Incarnation. This is basically a Nova round situation. At 3rd level, you can heighten your Echo's Fury. Whenever you take the attack action, you can make 1 additional melee attack from the Echo's position. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your Constitution modifier. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Now, our Constitution is only 16, so this isn't like amazing, but it is good, and we get 3 of them. So, you know, whatever. Hopefully you forget it. I'm just going to go on a tangent. Anyway, let's talk about how this synergizes. Let's talk about our strategy here. Like we said, anytime that you take the attack action, you could make the attack. Okay, hold on, I'm just going to read it. When you take the attack action on your turn, any attack you make with that action can originate from your space or the Echo's space. You make the choice for each attack. Alright, so going over to Mounted Combatant, you have an advantage on melee attack rolls against any unmounted creature that is smaller than your mount. Hold on, I have to take a shit. I'll be right back. So this carries over to any attack that you make from your mount, but from your Echo's location, given the Echo Knight's Manifest Echo abilities. What I'm saying here is that as long as you're attacking creatures that are smaller than your mount, of which your mount is large, you're getting advantage on every attack, and you're not having to make those attacks from your space. Furthermore, your mount has a ton of movement and can disengage from any situation in which it has to get out of combat. Now, if you move more than 30 feet away from your Echo, it's going to disappear at the end of your turn, but that's at the end of your turn. So you can still make these attacks during your turn. So let's talk about a crazy Nova round in which you're on the other side. You run up, or somehow your Echo is within 30 feet. First of all, your Echo should always be spawned out of combat. You should never be using your bonus action within combat to spawn your Echo. Second of all, let's just talk about you're in combat with your Echo. Your Echo is engaged. Maybe you're also engaged. You disengage from your mount. You then attack from your Echo's location, but you're on your mount. That attack is at advantage. You then attack again because you have multi-attack. That attack is at advantage. You then attack again because we're unleashing Incarnation, which again is whenever you take the attack action, you can make one additional melee attack from the Echo's position. And maybe we also did this on our first turn. Maybe this is a Nova round. On our first attack, sorry. Maybe this is a Nova round. Let's talk about Nova round. Attack, unleash, right? Bonus action, attack. These are all at advantage. This is 5 attacks that have been taken at advantage in one turn. Yes, it's a Nova round, but they're at advantage. So let's talk about that. That's 5 d20s. The damage roll is a 1d12, and when you're hitting, you're smiting, especially if you're critting. And if you're rolling that many d20s, you're probably gonna crit. It's a decent likelihood, and you should be definitely smiting on a crit. So think about that, right? We're dealing out damage. And at the end of that little spell, now what? We're gonna use Action Surge. And in our Action Surge, we're gonna unleash Incarnation again, burning that third Constitution Unleash Incarnation charge. So that's another 2, so that's 7 attacks at advantage with a 1d12 weapon. Okay? And smites. Okay? Do you understand what I'm telling you? And at the end of the turn, let's say you're like, screw it, I'm getting the hell out of here. You run your mount to the other side of the map. And all of the creatures that you've been attacking at advantage are now unable, probably, to get to you. Your mount could dash, it could disengage, it could attack. So, there you go. That's the power of this build. It's unreal. And for the rest of your level progression, you don't need to actually go fighter. You can go back to paladin and just, you know, get your aura, get more spell slots so you can have more smites, take some spells that you probably won't be using much of. Remember, we might have Armor of Agathis on, although that's going to take away from Divine Smites. And on non-Nova rounds, we're still getting 3 attacks at advantage from 30 feet away. So these are ranged melee attacks, essentially. This is amazing, okay? I don't know how else to emphasize this. This is really lethal strategy, and it's going to make your DM go insane. So be nice about it. And also talk to him about, for example, the Manifest Echo ability says when you take the attack action on your turn, any attack you make with that action may originate from your space or the Echo's space. So that, you know, that sort of has possibly conflicting wording with 2-weapon fighting in 5e because of the, you know, you're gonna have to talk about this to your DM. Let me look up 2-weapon fighting. The rule is when you take the attack action and attack with a light melee weapon, which we don't have to do because of the dual wielder feat that we have. You can use a bonus action to attack with a different light weapon. So now we're using a bonus action to attack, but it is originating from our attack action. So is that going to work with our Manifest Echo ability? Now, in my mind, it does. But in the mind of your DM, they might see it differently, and I can understand that. But it doesn't matter. You can just run up and do it with your mount if they're going to be that guy about it, or you can attack someone else on your way out, or you can, you know, flank around the other side, or you can chat in combat and attack with your mount and your other lance. And so the biggest trade-off that we have so far is our low stats. We only have 16 strength, and we have 16 con, but you're making up for it in a lot of other ways. For example, if we're in chainmail, our armor right now is 18. And at level 8 party, you probably have great magic weapons. You probably have great access to better armors and great access to gold. So I'm imagining that your armor class is 20. And your armor class is 20 from a place where they can't touch you. So that's amazing on its own. And speaking of can't touch you, I forgot to touch on this Conquest Paladin synergy factor. Now, the channel divinity is you can use your channel divinity as an action to force each creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you to make a wisdom saving throw. That 30 feet is perfect because it's the same distance that our echo can get away from us at the end of our turn before it disappears. And that means that in a situation where we need to kite an enemy, or multiple enemies, and for some reason maybe our mount is rooted or restrained, or maybe the battlefield is narrower, or maybe, you know, for whatever reason, this is an advantage to cause fear, because again, fear means that they can't move towards us, and it also means that they take attacks at disadvantage and ability checks at disadvantage. So, you know, you're using your action, you're standing away from them, you're attacking with melee from range, and they're feared. What are they going to do? They can't get to you, right? I mean, come on, this is amazing. It's an amazing build. You can't tell me this is an amazing build. And what you might be saying to yourself or to me, or making a comment right now, is that this has been done in the sense of Warlock Echo Knight, using Eldritch Blasts and a polearm to kite enemies and push them away, so on and so forth, maybe a little sentinel action. And to that I say, you know, you're not wrong, that's a great build, but here's maybe a better one in terms of raw damage output. The damage is higher, because we have smites and we have D12 lances. So, take that. We also have better AC, because we have the dual wielder feat, and we have the defense fighting style. So there you go. And we're a paladin, so, you know, lay on hands, some bless action, maybe a little some other stuff. I don't know, get creative. But here you go, this is the build. What do you think? Is it alright? Is it bad? Is it good? I don't know. I think it's good, but you know, that's just me. Anyway, thank you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed your time. I love you. See you around.